AI skills now pay 62% more. That's a huge number. And it comes from PwC, one of the world's largest consulting firms, after they analyzed more than 1 billion job postings across 6 continents. So the obvious takeaway is pretty simple, right? Learn AI, make more money. But that's not the whole story, because AI itself is getting easier to use. Millions of people already use ChatGPT. Copilot is showing up everywhere. The tools keep getting cheaper and simpler. So why would companies pay that much more for something that's becoming easier for everybody to access? That's the real question. And PwC found another interesting clue. Some of the jobs benefiting most aren't just asking for more AI. They're asking for more judgment, creativity, leadership, and real-world expertise. Even some entry-level jobs are starting to ask beginners for skills we normally expect from experienced employees. So this really isn't a story about learning ChatGPT. It's about a much more interesting question. What are companies actually willing to pay more for now? And the answer might not be what you'd expect. Let's talk about that 62%. Picture 2 job postings, side by side. Same title, same company type. One says marketing manager, listed at a $100,000 salary. The other also says marketing manager, but with AI skills required. And that job is posted at a $162,000 salary. Now, obviously, this isn't a real posting. It just illustrates what that 62% looks like. And that's a $62,000 difference. With the same title and the exact same experience required. Same everything, really. Except for those 3 words, AI skills required. Now, to be clear, PwC isn't saying any one person gets a raise like that just for learning ChatGPT. This is an average across a billion job postings, comparing jobs that ask for AI skills with similar jobs that don't. And demand for those jobs is climbing fast. Since 2019, postings asking for AI skills grew 69%. Job postings overall, just 9. And this gap isn't new. It's been climbing for years. 2 years ago, it was just 25%. Last year, 57%. Now, 62%. And here's the crazy part. AI is getting easier every day. But this gap, it's not shrinking. It's growing. So why is that? A few years ago, a decent logo needed somebody who actually knew Photoshop. But now, just type a sentence, you get an image. A few years ago, building a simple app meant hiring somebody who could write code. Now, just describe what you want, watch it get built. That's an incredible new ability if you're the one who's just gained it. But it also means the old scarcity just disappeared. If almost anybody can now do the basic version of something that used to take years to learn, that basic version isn't rare anymore. And rare is what companies pay extra for. So AI isn't just creating new skills. It's quietly deflating the price of some old ones, which makes that job posting even more interesting. If AI is making capabilities easier and less scarce everywhere, why would any job pay $62,000 more just for that? Shouldn't AI-related work be getting cheaper too? Here's the next clue. PwC didn't just find one kind of job, they found 2. The first kind is the one we just watched. AI makes the skill itself easier to access. More people can do it. The scarcity and the premium start to shrink. But there's a second kind. In these jobs, AI takes over the routine parts and leaves the person doing the parts that are still genuinely hard. Making decisions, solving weird problems, handling people, knowing when something's off, or owning it when something goes wrong. And this second group is where PwC found something remarkable. These jobs aren't just paying more, they're growing about twice as fast. And wages inside of them are climbing 42% faster than the other group. So now there are 2 forces pulling in opposite directions. Some AI adjacent work is getting cheaper. Some AI adjacent work is getting dramatically more valuable. And that 62% premium we started with is really an average of both of those forces smashed together. So let's look at exactly what genuinely hard means. Radiology is a great example. People have been predicting AI would replace radiologists for years, and you can understand why. A big part of the job involves looking at medical images and finding patterns, and AI can be extremely good at doing that. So the prediction seems pretty obvious. AI gets better at reading scans, we need fewer radiologists. Except that assumes that the radiologist's value is just spotting something on an image, and it isn't. AI can flag a pattern, but somebody still has to decide what it means for an actual patient. Somebody has to look at everything else going on. Somebody has to recognize when the AI may be wrong. And somebody ultimately owns the medical decision. Now move that same idea into an office. AI can draft the financial analysis. Somebody still has to decide whether to make the investment. AI can summarize 50 resumes, but somebody still has to decide who might actually succeed on the team. The output gets cheaper, but judgment doesn't. And that starts to explain why some people may become more valuable as AI gets better. But it also creates a problem. Think about how people normally become experienced. They start by doing easier work. The junior analyst gathers the information before learning how to interpret it. The young attorney reviews documents before making bigger legal decisions. The new employee builds the first draft before becoming the person trusted to approve it. That's how people learn. You do the easier work first, and then you get better. But AI is getting really good at that first rung of work. PwC looked at 2.4 million entry-level jobs and found something pretty interesting. The jobs most affected by AI were 7 times more likely to ask beginners for things like leadership, creativity, and people skills. Now think about that. Companies are starting to ask beginners for skills that usually come with experience. At the same time, AI is starting to do some of the beginner work that help people get that experience. So how are they supposed to get it? I don't think anyone has a great answer yet. But it does tell us something important. Learning how to complete the task may not be enough anymore. You also need to understand why the task matters, what good looks like, and what to do when the obvious answer is wrong. So now that 62% starts to make a little more sense. The easy takeaway was just learn AI. The better takeaway might be learn AI plus something else. AI plus deep financial knowledge. AI plus healthcare experience. AI plus knowing your customers inside and out. Or AI plus leadership. Because AI itself is becoming available to almost everybody. The valuable part is increasingly what you can combine with it. And as AI is changing jobs, companies are asking more for things like judgment, empathy, and creativity. Those don't sound like AI skills, and that's exactly why this matters. The tool becomes common. The ability to use it in a way that creates a good decision, solves a real problem, or avoids a costly mistake, that's what stays valuable. So if you're thinking about your own career, I wouldn't just ask, what AI tool should I learn next? Instead, I'd ask, what do I know that makes AI more useful in my hands rather than someone else's? Maybe it's your industry. Maybe it's your customers. Or maybe it's finance or healthcare. Maybe it's knowing how to lead a team through a difficult change. Or maybe it's 20 years of seeing what goes wrong before everyone else notices it. So learn AI, absolutely. Use it. Let it make you faster. But don't assume the tool itself is your advantage, because pretty soon almost everybody is going to have the tool. The advantage is what you can do with it. Remember that job posting from the beginning? $100,000 versus $162,000. Same title. Well, now you know why. Part of that $62,000 gap is simple demand. Companies need people who know how to use the technology. But the bigger part is what happens around it. As AI makes some work easier, companies put more value on the work that still requires experience and judgment, creativity, leadership, and context. So here's the question I'd ask about your own job. If AI suddenly made the easiest 30% of your work almost free, what would somebody still happily pay you for? Whatever your answer is, that's probably the part of your career worth getting much better at. Because the goal isn't to just learn AI, it's to become the person who can use AI to do something that still requires you. I hope you all enjoyed this episode and got something out of it. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.